Donald Trump has finally conceded he lost the US presidential election, but he's stopped short of congratulating Joe Biden. The change of heart comes amid growing calls for his impeachment, as many blame him for the mob attack at Capitol Hill.
A new administration will be inaugurated on January 20th. My focus now turns to ensuring a smooth, orderly, and seamless transition of power. To the citizens of our country, serving as your president has been the honor of my lifetime. And to all of my wonderful supporters, I know you are disappointed, but I also want you to know that our incredible journey is only just beginning.
A vow to never concede the election broke it. U.S. President Donald Trump has finally made a public declaration of defeat after unprecedented chaos at Capitol Hill by his supporters. In another reversal, Mr. Trump has condemned the violent attack, despite calling rioters very special 24 hours earlier.
The demonstrators who infiltrated the Capitol have defiled the seat of American democracy. To those who engaged in the acts of violence and destruction, you do not represent our country. And to those who broke the law, you will pay.
But his concession and condemnation comes only after growing calls for his removal, with just days left till the end of his term.
In calling for this seditious act, the President has committed an unspeakable assault on our nation and our people. I join the Senate Democratic leader in calling on the Vice President to remove this President by immediately invoking the 25th Amendment. If the Vice President and the Cabinet do not act, the Congress may be prepared to move forward with impeachment.
So I believe the President is dangerous and should not hold office one day longer. He may have only 13 days left as President, but yesterday demonstrated that each and every one of those days is a threat to democracy so long as he is in power.
Here's the truth. The President caused this. The President is unfit, and the President is unwell. And the President must now relinquish control of the executive branch voluntarily or involuntarily.
Even one of his top congressional allies has blamed Mr. Trump for the incident.
It breaks my heart that my friend, a president of a consequence, would allow yesterday to happen. And it will be a major part of his presidency. It was a self-inflicted wound. It was going too far.
Yesterday's riots have undoubtedly dented Mr. Trump's inner circle. A spate of resignations have already flooded in, including the transport and education secretaries. Some say Mr. Trump's pledge for an orderly transition was in part intended to head off further resignations, but it may be a little too late.
Simon Marks joins us live now from Washington, D.C. Simon, in the video released by the president, he appears at least to have conceded defeat, or is acknowledged Joe Biden's victory a better way to put it?
Yeah, I think that's a better way to put it, frankly, Dawn. I mean, this wasn't in any sense a traditional concession. Had we been going to get a traditional concession, first of all, it would have happened 7 weeks ago. And secondly, it would have been accompanied by the normal congratulatory phone call to the President-elect Joe Biden. That absolutely hasn't occurred. There's no indication that President Trump is going to invite Joe Biden to the White House for the traditional cup of coffee in the Oval Office and the photo opportunity. And at this point, were he to do so, it would not be guaranteed that Joe Biden would accept the invitation, given the scale of the death and destruction that has taken place here, incited as it was by President Donald Trump, with, as you heard there, Republican lawmakers now openly expressing concern about the president's mental and intellectual well-being and backing moves for him to be removed from office. I mean, it's been apparent for the last 4 years here that there was always the chance that the Trump administration was going to end badly. But I don't think even the most pessimistic of observers could have imagined that it was going to end in quite the manner that events have unfolded here over the last 48 hours.
Simon, there are growing calls for his removal, especially from Democrats, but also from Republicans, as you mentioned as well. Walk us through some of the possible scenarios where that could happen.
Well, there's two ways it could happen. And one, of course, is the vice president invoking the 25th Amendment to the American Constitution, which now appears to be off the cards because Vice President Mike Pence, even if he was minded to try and oust President Donald Trump from the Oval Office, would have to summon the support of the majority of members of the president's cabinet. That would mean 8 cabinet officials would have to back the move, and the cabinet is dwindling in numbers following the resignations of people like Elaine Chao, the transportation secretary, Betsy DeVos, the education secretary. So the pool of available people to recruit for an effort like that is diminishing by the hour here. Plus, it is not evident that Mike Pence wants to take that very dramatic move. It's never been done here in the past, even though there is Section 4 of the 25th Amendment to the Constitution that would allow the Vice President, the Cabinet and congressional leaders to do it. So the other alternative would be impeachment, and there are already articles of impeachment that the Democrats have brought up. I think it is highly likely that we will, in the next few days, see the Democrats very quickly move to impeach President Trump in the House of Representatives. And then, as we all saw a year ago, the action moves to the Senate, where the president would be put on trial if Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, who of course has now broken with President Trump, were to decide that it was a prudent move to convene the senators for that trial over the course of the next 12 days. The timetable for that seems to be almost impossible. So we may end up in a situation where the House of Representatives again impeaches Donald Trump, but there is no trial. There's no time for that trial to occur in the Senate before the inauguration of Joe Biden. But I would, caution all of these scenarios with we're just in the middle of very, very uncertain and unpredictable times here. And there are other avenues. President Trump could resign. He could hand power over to Mike Pence as a caretaker for a couple of days in the run-up to the inauguration. All sorts of possibilities out there being discussed.
Yeah, and he's got 13 more days to make some decisions on that. But meantime, more details have emerged following the aftermath of the siege on Capitol building. Simon, what do we know?
Well, there's a massive manhunt underway. The FBI offering rewards for people who are coming forward to unmask those people who participated in that rampaging, deadly assault on the U.S. Capitol. And they're assisted in that quest by the fact that these protesters weren't masked to protect themselves from COVID-19. Indeed, they had boasted at the beginning of the Save America rally that they viewed it as a super spreader event. So their identities are on open display for members of the public to pass information on, as they are doing, to the FBI. One district attorney, prosecutor here in Washington, D.C., is indicating that it is possible that President Trump himself will eventually face charges in connection with his incitement of this riot. There are massive questions for the police force that protects Capitol Hill. That's a separate entity from the rest of Washington, D.C.'s police force. Its police chief resigned yesterday. Questions, too, for at least 6 Republican lawmakers who were seen in the crowd egging the riot on. They have the potential to be in some considerable legal jeopardy. But big questions really now about the future of the U.S. Capitol Police Force and about whether some of its members, who may personally have been politically sympathetic to Donald Trump, failed in their duty and instead of protecting the building, actually encouraged the protesters to come right on in.